Welcome to the Darkstream. Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and Castalia House. Well, if you haven't been on the blog, you may not have seen this amazingly cool cover. It's for a book called Tithe to Tartarus, and it is book number 6 in the Moth and Cobweb series. It's written by John C. Wright. He's one of the best authors currently writing in science fiction and fantasy today. Tartarus, it's a synonym for hell. And if you check out the cover, you can see it's a pretty awesome cover, and I can tell you that it is the book and the story is absolutely worthy of that great cover. And for those of you who know how Castalia does things, the hardcover omnibus edition is going to be using that cover. We have the 3 different ebook covers, and then we pick whichever one we like the best for the hardcover, and it was pretty unanimous. To be honest, I kind of favored Daughter of Danger, with the girl draped in the American flag, but that was deemed a little bit risque, and the author definitely preferred the whole girl descending upon the werewolves. And so, and honestly, and considering the audience, the age of the audience for the book, it probably is the correct choice. So, anyhow, what I meant by by the conservative disinterest in culture can be seen by what was going on today. It was kind of funny. Somebody said earlier they were glad that I was going to be talking about something other than Gab, which I am. But I do have to mention it in passing, just because, today, a lot of these people were saying, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. And going on and talking about how, you haven't done anything, you're not doing anything, and all this sort of crap. And the thing that was a little bit ironic to me about this is that literally today, literally this morning, I published a really, really good book. A book that is specifically targeted to teenage conservatives, to teenage Christians. It's the kind of book, it's kind of like a C.S. Lewis, Susan Cooper style book. It's the entire series of Moth and Cobweb is fantastic. I can say without any exaggeration that it is one of the best young adult fantasy series being published today. And frankly, it is one of the few that you can allow your young teenagers to read without any hesitation. It's the kind of stuff that you want them to read. It's the kind of stuff that we created Castalia House to publish, because no mainstream publisher was ever going to publish this kind of stuff. It draws upon the Arthurian legends, it draws upon the Wagnerian legends. There's no political correctness, there's no transgenders, there's no homosexuality, there's none of all of this bullshit that infests what we call SJW pink science fiction. Guys, we're not here to talk about PAX. You want to do that? Do it on Twitter. And so, it's a little bit frustrating that so many people on the right give lip service to the idea that culture is very important. Culture is upstream from politics. You hear people talking about that concept all the time. They talk about it in theory. But at the end of the day, how many of those people who are so excited how many of those people who have tweeted more than a dozen times today about Gab have tweeted about the new John C. Wright book? Virtually none. I mean, probably not 1/10 of 1%. They're so ignorant of this stuff. They're so inattentive to actual positive products that would be useful in fighting the cultural war. What they do is they go and they buy the Hunger Games and then they bitch about it. They go and they buy Harry Potter and they bitch about it. But I understand that far fewer people read than watch television and that sort of thing. But still, there are millions and literally millions of conservatives and Christians who are running out there buying Rick Riordan, who's putting all the SJW stuff in his books. They're running out there and they're buying all this crap that they complain about, and then they make no effort whatsoever to support this kind of stuff that they say they want. And the thing is, I understand, there's a reason that you're not going to listen to Stryper rather than Metallica, or whatever the modern Christian equivalent is. And I mean, that's not quite fair, because obviously 21 Pilots is a Christian band, but and they're excellent. But U2, you could say the same thing. But for the most part, that doesn't apply. And so, the thing is that if you want to win the cultural war, you need to support those things that build up your culture. I'm not saying go out and support crap. Not at all. Go look. If you look at the best that the secular market has to offer, and you look at the best that the alternative Christian cultural alternative has to offer, many times the latter is superior. You can compare, if you compare the Moth and Cobweb books to any popular YA series right now, I think you'll find that the Moth and Cobweb series is superior in terms of both its covers, in terms of the writing, in terms of the storytelling, and in terms of the characters. All right? Now, we may not have anything that compares at all to Harry Potter, but we're a small company, we're just one company, and so forth. But we do have various areas that can compete very favorably. If you compare my own A Throne of Bones to George Martin's A Game of Thrones, most people at this point will come right out and say that the Arts of Dark and Light series, which is my series, is better. You know, I'm obviously biased, but also as a professional reviewer and a professional editor, you know, I can look at those two things and go, you know, this one actually is better than the other one. Now, partly, of course, because from George Martin's mistakes, but you know, so anyhow, yeah, I mean, I actually felt that Martin's first two were pretty good, but then I realized that actually in the second one, he had planted all the seeds of the succeeding failure. So, you know, it's entertaining in itself, but it had to go downhill simply because he let his characters get out of control. The number of his perspective characters get out of control, and so you know, that was his first major error, in my opinion. Of course, the whole thing about Winter is pretty nonsensical too. So, you know, the whole thing is ridiculous on many levels. But that's neither here nor there. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you want to win the cultural war, it's very important to find out who is on your side, who is not, and support those things. Now, keep in mind, I am not complaining. It may sound like I am. I'm not. Castelia House is doing great. We have had 3 record months in a row. We are selling more books than we have ever sold. We are getting more ebooks, more audiobooks, and more print books out the door while maintaining an even higher level of quality than we were producing a year ago. And that's our goal. You know, our goal is not to maximize production. Our goal is to produce more of even higher quality stuff than we were before. And so, the audio is coming on heavily. You know, I've been talking to our audio editor, and you know, we actually had a bit of a chat. You know, he was a little disappointed how things were going, and I said, "Look, you're not keeping up. You know, we've gone from 1 ebook a month to 3 or 4. We've gone from 1 print book every other month to as many as 5 in a month. New ones coming out." And I said, audiobooks, we're, you know, lucky to get 1 out a month. And the reason, of course, was that, you know, he'd been working hard on stuff, but he hadn't been finding new narrators, and we'd lost a couple narrators while we were not bringing new narrators in. And so now, you know, he's done a great job. He went out there. I think he's brought in as many as 6 new narrators. And we're getting really good narrators too. In fact, you know, we're actually getting a narrator. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you will recognize the woman's voice, and it's fantastic. You know, when I'd heard her voice, I said, we need to get her for this book. And so, anyhow, you know, it's more and more stuff is coming out. So that's why I want to make it clear. I'm not complaining. We get wonderful support from the Castelia fans. You know, you guys are fantastic, and we really appreciate it. And that's what makes it easy for us to put in the kind of effort that we do, to put in the kind of hours that we do. Castelia House is our publishing house. If you see all those books right there, those are all books that we publish. And so, you know, but but we are still just a microcosm, a very small microcosm. We're not reaching that many people, and we should be reaching more. Yeah, actually, this T-shirt, it's this shelf right here. Those are all Castalia House books. Although this is not. This is Incerto, Nassim Taleb's books. It's just a set that I picked up because I like his books. So anyhow, we publish science fiction, we publish fantasy, we publish history, we publish philosophy. So the main thing is that there's absolutely no social justice bullshit in it. And so, yeah, I mean, what we would like people to do is to just share this stuff with them, with people that you believe are going to, people who are going to enjoy it. And so there are literally millions of people who are fed up with it. Faraway Wars is going well. Embers of Empire is done. We're editing it now. So, as far as how the giveaway goes, that's one way that we're growing. We gave away 24,000 books last month. We gave away free copies of A Throne of Bones. We gave away free copies of A Sea of Skulls. We gave away free copies of Summa Helvetica. We gave away free copies of There Will Be War Volumes 1, 2, and 10. And 20,000 some people, over 24,000 books were downloaded. And the thing, sometimes people say, well, why do you do this? Why on earth would you give this stuff away? Here's what's interesting about that. Even though we gave away 10,000 copies of Throne of Bones, we sold 3 times more copies than we had the month before. That's why it makes sense to do that. Now, Voxdiversity, and actually we're going to be releasing a new little short in the next couple days here, just to sort of keep the interest in it going and maybe help those who are not sure if they want to support it yet or not make the jump. Voxdiversity is another way for us to reach out to people who don't read books. We're going to use it to try to no, you can't have, you don't need free memberships to Voxdiversity because Voxdiversity is being released to everyone. The supporters of, we don't talk about members of Voxdiversity, we talk about supporters of Voxdiversity. These are people who are behind it. These are people who are behind Voxdiversity because they want us to get this stuff out to everyone. And so, as far as the ebooks, I am going to do that tonight. We estimate that about 90% of the people out there don't really read books. Not the kind of books that we're publishing. If you look at what we're doing. And so, it's not a legal fund. I'm fortunate in not needing a legal fund. I actually have the Legal Legion of Evil, which consists of now, I think, 14 lawyers and 2 paralegals. So, our books are fiction and nonfiction. The Voxdiversity videos are all going to be nonfiction. Actually, more people read nonfiction than fiction, it turns out. Which is a little bit strange, but so anyhow, you know, so we are, let's see, why are you have such success in so many endeavors suddenly? I think there's several reasons. Number one, a conversation with Mike Cernovich a couple years ago. You know, he basically told me to stop being, in his words, an upper middle class pussy who was afraid to talk about money. You know, the middle class does not, we upper middle class people do not like to talk about money. We don't like to ask for it. We like to do everything by ourselves, and we like to talk about it like, you know, pretend like everything happens super easily. And so, you know, it's considered déclassé, and it's considered, you know, something you just shouldn't do. And so, so the other thing is that I think people are starving for the truth. And in addition to that, the blog happened to reach what I consider to be kind of a critical mass. You know, I didn't start the blog with the idea of using it to fuel anything. It was just basically kind of a online diary for my thoughts. I had to be it took months for people to talk me into doing putting comments on. You know, I think, so, so I think that's why it took off. There's a lot of smart people who are regulars at the blog. So I get a lot of good advice. We have a lot of excellent volunteers. By the way, I should mention, just in case there's anyone who is into doing book layout, we're looking for 2 volunteers to help our production editor with book layout. So if that's your thing, you know, get in touch. You know, the other thing that we've learned is that people want to volunteer. You know, I didn't do anything. Literally everything that I did was completely by myself. You know, I believe that I should not, you know, ever have anyone do anything that I didn't pay them for. And, you know, so I didn't, I was not leveraging this massive collection of talent that was orbiting the blog. And so, you know, finally people started telling me, you know, the guys who are now, you know, literally running, you know, entire sections of the operations, you know, that, you know, they started telling me, look, we want to help. You know, we're not looking for a job. You know, these are mostly people who have good jobs. These are mostly people who are successful. And they're looking for something else to do that is meaningful. And so, you know, and it took them a while, but they finally talked me into trusting them enough to let them do stuff. You know, and now, you know, one guy does the, you know, we've got the production editor, we've got the print editor, we've got the audio editor, and they, you know, they just run with it now. I mean, they probably spend more time talking to each other than they do talking to me. And so, you don't have to register to comment on the blog. You can just use name URL. So, the registering is just if you don't want to keep typing the name in each time. And you don't have to use the URL either. So, but the thing is that, you can get this shirt at Crypto Fashion. If you go to crypto.fashion, look under Dark Lord Designs. We have this shirt in black, stone blue, royal blue. I think there's still sweatshirts too, I'm not sure. But Crypto Fashion. Not fascist, Crypto Fashion. So, No, this is a large. You have to understand all the jokes about me being short and small are jokes. I mean, I am short compared to my friends because they're all these, 6'2", 6'3" Scandinavians. But I'm like basically the size of the Vikings cornerbacks. So at size and weight. So it's always kind of funny to me when people talk about that sort of thing, because I'm not physically massive, but certainly in the gym I'm not exactly small. I mean when you're doing your first sets at 225 with pair of plates on either side, people are not usually going, oh, you're very tiny. But anyhow, but yeah, so like sometimes on these periscopes, people are like, your shirt is so tiny, your shirt is so small, and I'm like, it's a large, So anyhow, that's really neither here nor there. So if you get, also, this is something I neglected to mention. If you have Kindle Unlimited, there are all 6 books of Moth and Cobweb are now available on Kindle Unlimited for the first time. And so, if you have it, download them and read it. Go for it. So, oh no, everything's fine with Microchip. He took some offense to the way that I had paraphrased something. I asked him what he would like me to change, and that's taken care of. So no problem. Alt Hero, we're going to be launching it soon. Scooter's working on the video. We've already got all the art ready. So we'll probably launch in about 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm not big on hugging. It was pretty funny. Getting used to all the cheek kissing was a bit of a, it took some getting used to. So my wife, she was laughing so hard. We had a couple over for dinner. Really nice couple. Great guy. Very pretty wife. And so, we're saying goodbye. They came over for the door. They came over for dinner, and then they were leaving at the door, and so he's kissing Space Bunny goodbye. I'm kissing his wife goodbye, and then he, please, don't be such an idiot. So then he turns around and I'm shaking hands. And then he kind of leans in and does the cheek kissing thing to me. And I didn't really realize that, that's what, in Italy, that's what good friends do. And this guy, I was the coach of his kid. We knew we know them very well. They're really nice people and stuff. But Space Bunny said that my eyes just went. And the thing is that you also have to keep in mind is this guy's a giant. He's like 6'3", 6'4". So she's like, I couldn't believe your expression. I said, well, what was I supposed to do? This guy is enormous, So anyhow, that was a cultural experience. So I'm used to it now. It's not a big deal anymore. So, no, I'm not planning to go back to Gab. Heck, we don't even know if Gab's going to be able to find a registrar yet. So, but yeah, the thing is that you just have to learn different cultures. You just have to learn the way. In Japan, you have to bow from the waist. Not Americans. I think they call it like turkey bobbing. Americans are always going because they don't know to. Americans don't bow naturally, and so we don't know how to bow from the waist. No, I have no intention of ever moving back to the U.S. We like it here. It's home. It's the only place the kids have ever known. So, anyhow, that's all I've got for tonight. But I would encourage you to check out the Castelli House books. If you're interested in supporting Voxiversity, I would definitely encourage you to do that. And I appreciate the support. And if you know people that are concerned about the cultural war, tell them about Castelli House. And yes, Moth and Cobweb will be coming to audio. So, have a good evening.